Welcome back to the news at 10. We cross over to Abuja now. Here's Linda Akigbe. Linda.
Hello, Ijoma. Now, from the lawmakers to law enforcement, members of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign group who were earlier today arrested by the police have regained their freedom. The police had barricaded the road linking the State House, forcefully stopping the BBOG protesters from taking their demonstration to the president. The group was defiant, insisting they had the right to stage a peaceful protest without hindrance.
Is this a unity fountain or not? Is this a unity fountain or not? Can you pass? Let me move.
What you see here is not a stage play, but a true reality of what played out at the Unity Fountain when members of the Bring Back Our Girls group convened to start a protest to the presidential villa. The protesters had hardly filed out of the Unity Fountain before they were barricaded by men of the Nigeria Police Force, leading to traffic congestion on the highway. For over 1.5 hours, the drama continued. The co-convener of the group speaks against the intimidation.
Today we gathered to do our usual march, and the Nigerian police has refused for us to leave the Unity Fountain. Some of our colleagues have already gone, and they are going to be giving their press statements there. Those of us that they have locked in here, in particular, they have refused that I should move. They have built a human prison and have violated my fundamental right to freedom of movement and association. And therefore, I want it to be on record that the government of President Muhammadu Buhari has infringed the Constitution by violating my fundamental right to freedom of movement and association.
Before the barricade, members of the group explained the reason for the protest to the presidential villa.
Today is 1,380 days. We want 112 of our Chibok girls to be back. We also have 3 lecturers of the University of Maiduguri who were abducted. They're in captivity too, and then we have more than 14 Lassa women who were on their way to bury a fallen police officer and were abducted too.
We have a lot of security concerns. We have our girls who are still abducted. We have the Unimed lecturers who have not been accounted for. They're still in captivity. We have the Lassa women who are in captivity, as well as thousands of other people in captivity. Let's not also forget the people of the Benue and the Taraba, this herdsmen crisis. So it's the federal government really has to stand up to its responsibility.
And then, finally, members of the movement leave the Unity Fountain to meet up with other members of the group who had been at the Villa Gate. Here, 7 members of the group were arrested, and after a long drive around the city of Abuja, they were taken to the FCT command of the Nigeria Police. Some members of the group followed them to the FCT Police command to demand their release. They were subsequently released after several hours. However, the group insists that they remain resolute in their demands for the safe return of the 102 girls still in the stronghold of their abductors 1,380 days after their abduction.
In Bayelsa State, gunmen suspected to be sea pirates have killed 2 police officers at the Obia Marine Police Division in Obia local government area of Bayelsa State. The attackers were also said to have carted away 2 200-horsepower engines and the gunboats belonging to the local government. The Commissioner of Police in the state, Amber Asukwo, gave details on the attack. To the judiciary now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has asked the Federal High Court in Abuja to revoke the bail granted to the former Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Olisametu, and send him to prison. Mr. Metu is set to be on admission at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Teaching Hospital, Nnewi, Anambra State. Reacting to an application seeking for the further adjournment of the case because of Metu's ill health, the EFCC lawyer accused the defense of trying to scuttle the trial. Our correspondent Amaka Okafor reports.
Matters have taken a dramatic turn at the trial of the former National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Olisa Metu, as he continues to be absent from proceedings. On the 22nd of January, Mr. Metu informed the court through his lawyer that he was on admission at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Hospital and therefore did not attend trial. His lawyer, Onyechi Ikpeazu, makes an application asking for an adjournment to enable Mr. Metu to recuperate and continue his trial. The prosecutor, Mr. Sylvester Tahir, however, asked the court to revoke Mr. Metu's bail and commit him to prison to ensure he does indeed attend trial. Mr. Tahir faults the January 21, 2018 medical report from the Nnamdi Azikiwe University Teaching Hospital in Nnewi, Anambra State. He further states that the steps taken by Mr. Metu had undermined the administration of criminal justice, and to the extent the bail granted the defendant should be revoked.
There is an attempt to play with the proceedings. The proceedings is being turned into a joke, and I had to rely on the extant provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act to make the application which I made, seeking the revocation of the bail of the first defendant.
However, counsel to Mr. Metu, Onyechi Ikpeazu, urges the court to dismiss the application for bail revocation and argues that the prosecution has not shown that Mr. Metu is a flight risk, nor that he has interfered with any witness or the case.
The application was founded on the Criminal Justice Act itself, which permits a court to proceed with hearing in the absence of a defendant. But there must be a determination by the court that the reasons given for his absence were unreasonable or were not satisfactory. And that makes the application for revocation of his bail rather extraordinary. If the court is permitted to proceed in his absence, I don't see why any person will go to the extent of seeking a revocation of his bail unless there is something more to it.
The case has been adjourned to the 24th of January for continuation of arguments.
In the meantime, former PDP spokesman Olisa Metu was sighted lying on the bed at the intensive care units of Nnamdi Azikiwe University Teaching Hospital, Nnewi, Anambra State. According to his caregiver and brother, Mr. Luke Metu, Mr. Metu is said to be partially paralyzed following the dislocation of his spinal disc at the lumbar region. Mr. Luke Metu told journalists that the situation is disturbing to them as his life is in critical condition, and he has been referred to the University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital, Enugu, where he may be better handled. The hospital authority did not comment on the issue, but the medical personnel were seen trying hard to stabilize him for onward transfer to Enugu. Meanwhile, a federal high court sitting in Lagos today has fixed February the 12th to allow the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission file further information in respect of its ex parte application seeking the interim forfeiture of some large sums of money linked to Mrs. Patience Jonathan, wife of the former president. Before fixing the date, presiding Justice Mojisola Olatoregun also listened to the arguments of lawyers for the defendants challenging the jurisdiction of the court to hear and entertain the EFCC's ex parte application. Our judiciary correspondent Shola Shoyole has the report.
On the 15th of January, the EFCC had approached the Federal High Court, Lagos, to grant an ex parte order of interim forfeiture of the sum of $3,645,000, allegedly traced to Mrs. Patience Jonathan, wife of the former president. In the ex parte application, the EFCC also sought the interim forfeiture of $4,361,393, 1.8 billion naira, 226 million naira, and various other large sums of money, all traced to 6 others allegedly working for Mrs. Jonathan. The anti-graft agency told the court that the money are reasonably suspected to be proceeds of unlawful activities having been diverted from the federal government of Nigeria. 2 senior advocates, Mr. Ifedayo Adedipe and Mr. Michael Zekome, led a group of other lawyers to appear for the respondents. But the EFCC counsel, Rotimi Oyedepo, insisted that they had no right of audience as the matter was ex parte and should be heard without the knowledge of the other parties. Justice Mojisola Olatoregun agreed, and the lawyers to the respondents left the court. Before leaving, they, however, made the point that the application was an abuse of court process, as the EFCC had filed about 4 cases on the subject matter before other judges of the court. In a ruling on the issue, Justice Olatoregun directed the EFCC to file within 7 days an affidavit showing that the ex parte application was not the subject matter of litigation before any other court. At the resumed proceedings Tuesday morning, the court asked for more clarifications in respect of the EFCC's affidavit. These made the Commission ask for more time to put in further documents to convince the court. The lawyers to the respondents were again present, and this time they have an application challenging the jurisdiction of the court to hear the matter.
This same Federal High Court, sitting in Abuja, Justice Nyako gave a date for January. When they felt that that date was too long, in their attitude, in the FCC's attitude of forever forum shopping and abusing the process of the court, they ran from Abuja, took a flight, and flew to Lagos and filed the same application.
The Commission has not engaged in any forum shopping. This species of application we have brought before the court today, seeking for forfeiture of the funds, is not pending before any court within the Federation. Justice
Olatoregun has listened to all the parties and adjourned further proceedings to the 12th of February. Shola Shoyele, Channels Television News.
And that's all from Abuja. And now for business news, here's Anne Wanwudu.
You first. First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Linda. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has begun talks with international partners and friendly nations on ways of boosting Nigeria's manufacturing sector at a meeting with a delegation from the Japanese Trade Organization in Davos, and that's the venue of the World Economic Forum. Professor Osinbajo said that both countries can rebuild profitable relations in the manufacturing sector to mutually strengthen their economies. Our correspondent Gloria Umezoke reports.
Nigeria's Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, joined other world leaders in Davos, Switzerland, for the 48th World Economic Forum. On the official opening of the forum, Professor Osinbajo meets with a Japanese trade organization delegation to deepen ties, especially one that would boost Nigeria's manufacturing sector, as he says it is ready for investors. According to him, Nigeria will join the global manufacturing chain, and it will be private sector-led. Expectations are very high here at the 48th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum, where thousands of leaders are on ground, including 350 governmental leaders and 60 heads of state, among which is the president of the U.S., President Donald Trump. The vice president arrived here Monday night. He's been holding a series of meetings, including a bilateral meeting with Japan, where he will be fostering bilateral relations between Nigeria and Japan. And tomorrow, activities will pick up on Wednesday precisely, where he will be holding a series of meetings to foster business opportunities, including meetings with the COO of Facebook, where he will be looking at ways in which to promote local businesses, and also meeting with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as well as a series of meetings. We'll bring you updates as they come in. From Davos here in Switzerland, Gloria Umezoke, Channels Television News.
We definitely will be waiting for those updates. In the meantime, the federal, state and local governments are to share a total of 655 billion naira for the month of December 2017. Addressing journalists after the monthly Federation Account Allocation Committee meeting in Abuja, the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, explained that the figure shows an increase of over 40 billion naira compared to what was distributed the previous month. Nigeria's equities market has fallen deeper in the red as heavy sell-ups hit the share prices of 43 stocks at the close of business today. Chimezi Obiwagu has more for us.
welcome to the Stock Market Report. The turnaround expected at the equities market on Tuesday did not happen after all, as the all-share index plunged further into the negative. However, it is just mere profit-taking after weeks of gains. The bears took hold of today's proceedings right from the opening bell and down as much as 2.6% after lunchtime. But towards the close of the trading day, activity started to pick up and the index managed a 1.16% decline. Again, 3 out of the 5 major indices lost, but transaction volume and value remain impressive. For most of the traders, there is no reason for worry, as this was only market dynamics playing out. They forecast Wednesday a better trading day. And that was the Stock Market Report. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago.
Well, it's a different story for world-leading stock markets. They closed mostly higher today as investors react to positive fourth-quarter results in the U.S. and in Europe, as well as the Bank of Japan's decision to keep monetary policy steady. Here's a snapshot of today's figures. Thanks a lot for watching Business News Tonight. I'm Anne Nwawado. It's back to you, Joma.
You first. First Bank.
Thanks, Anne. Still ahead on the news at 10, Rafa Nadal's quest to win the Australian Open comes to an end after retiring in the 5th set of an exciting quarter-final against Marin Cilic. That's on sports. Stay with us.